Right, I'm Mark Holt. I'm Chief Technology Officer at Trainline. I look after technology and product. So we've got about 400 people at Trainline across the board. That's developers, QAs, designers, product owners, etc., etc. How many people in the room have the Trainline app? Oh, I love it. Massive high fives all around. Everyone gets a high five that has the Trainline app, always. That's great. I've been doing this presentations for quite a long time, and it's been really amazing to see that I've been at Trainline 5.5 years, and actually the number of hands that go up over the years has been increasing. It kind of comes through in our numbers, but it's a wonderful subjective moment when most of the room puts their hand up. So, Trainline, most of you know who we are. But possibly a lot of you don't realise the scale of the operation. So we sell tickets on behalf of 260 different operators. That's not just in the UK, that's in, got to get the number right, 45 different countries across Europe. So we will sell you SNCF tickets, we will sell you Trenitalia tickets, we will sell you NTV tickets, we will sell you Renfe tickets, etc., etc. We will sell you coach tickets. How many people in here have taken a coach in the last 6 months? Oh, that's interesting. Coach is a really good substitute for rail in a lot of cases. A lot of times people just want to go to Manchester, actually don't really care how they get there. Coach works really well for a lot of people, so we sell coach tickets as well. And we're a massively mobile business. We were just talking about the evolution of the organisation. Trainline's been around 22-ish years. The line in Trainline was because it used to be a phone line. We started out as a call centre operation way in the way back, and we've done the same evolution, and now we are basically an app business. 80% of our traffic is mobile. We care deeply and desperately about the app experience. And we're quite big. We do about 3.2 billion a year worth of ticket sales, and every minute 204 people travel, every minute 204 people travel with a ticket bought through Trainline, which is super cool. I love that. So this is what we do. This is sort of a slightly messed up version of our mission statement. We use technology and data to make rail and coach travel cheaper, easier and hassle-free. All about the customer. And we'll talk today a bit about the way we structure the org, the way we think about process and people and culture in order to deliver all of the great things that we do. First off, 1 million people every day open our app. More than that. All starts with the customer. Everything starts with deep understanding of our customers. So we have customers in the building at least twice a week. They get live streamed around for people to watch. We have all sorts of technology. That means we can watch people using, with their permission obviously, we can watch people using our technology, see where they're stumbling. Whenever we launch a new product, we will bring people in, we will get them to try it, and we will constantly evolve that customer experience. Everything starts with the customer. All of this culture stuff that we're talking about has to start with the customer. All this innovation stuff has to start with the customer. So many, who was I talking to the other day? I was talking to somebody who'd been at a fashion experience. And they were saying it was amazing, and they built all these really cool virtual catwalks, and nobody cared at all. But it was really innovative, and it was awesome. And everyone felt good about themselves. But actually, the CPO left. Because, hey, why wouldn't you? Because actually it's not about technology for technology's sake. It's not about what can you do. It's not about what's possible. It's what can you do for customers. That's the most important thing. And we start with, same as every business, getting the basics right. If I wasn't like being live streamed, I might say, don't F it up, is the basics of everything, right? Every business has the basics. It's got to be alive. Every time a customer comes to it, it has to work. It's got to be fast. It's got to be all of these things. Getting the basics right is really important. One of my favourite stories is the lifetimes and disruptions story from our CFO, and he was sitting in a meeting one day, And he said, I've just got a text from my daughter. And she's standing at a station somewhere. And it says, Daddy, your app is rubbish. The station says that the train is coming in 3 minutes' time, and your app says it's not coming for 14 minutes. And then 1 minute later, he got a text saying, Daddy, your app was right. Yes, that was as good as it gets. Getting the basics right is super important. So all of this innovation stuff doesn't matter at all. If it's doing these delighters and all this cool stuff doesn't matter at all if you haven't got the basics in place. We do a lot of cool stuff once we have the basics in place. We do platform prediction. Anyone travel from Waterloo? Oh, no, that's interesting. I do. Maybe that's why there's loads of innovation in Waterloo. We do estimated platforms, so we predict where the platform's coming from. We do seat prediction, 26,000 people a day drop data into BusyBot. This is BusyBot. Very cute little fella. He churns all of that data and figures out where you're most likely to get a seat. It's quite a complicated little problem because if you're travelling from London Bridge to Brighton, you actually aren't going to get a seat out at London Bridge, but you will get a seat when everyone gets off at the back of the train at Gatwick. So, interesting problem to solve. We do price prediction. In the first 3 months, the price prediction was live. Customers saved about 10 million quid. Those who used it versus those who didn't. And then we do all sorts of things around journey prediction. So this is knowing who you are and where you come from and what your previous purchase history looks like. We can sort of predict fairly accurately where you're probably going to and when you're probably going. It's quite fun. So how do we do all of this stuff? That's what we're here to talk about, is the innovation, building a culture. How do we create a culture that works to create new things? It's not really about the things that get created, it's about building the engine that's able to do that and do that on a continuous basis. And I always caveat all of this with my little Willy Wonka quote, because this is what works for us. This is what works at Trainline, and I'm a massive believer that context is everything. This is what works for Willy Wonka. His invention works brilliantly based on that. It probably does. What we do works for Trainline. You have to put it in context for your own organisation. The most important thing that, we're all London tech leaders here. The most important thing from my perspective is this, which is a thing that my people will say quite a lot. Oh, lots of craning necks, good. I should have put it at the top. Which is, our job as leaders is to work on the org, not in the org. Our job is to create an organisation that's capable of innovating. My job is not to innovate. I'm not supposed to be coming up with new shiny ideas. I've got a lot of people who we pay a lot of money to come up with new shiny ideas. Let's optimise those people. And my job is to optimise those people and create an engine. And I think as tech leaders, our jobs is to create an engine. It's not to do the work. So I break it down into 3 sections. I'm going to talk a lot about process. We've also got thoughts on people and culture, because those are the things that matter. From a process perspective, I'm a super big believer in lean. How many of you know about lean? Yeah, got one. Lean is all about eliminating waste. How can you take as much out of the system as possible, chipping away at all the things that aren't useful, optimizing as many processes as you can. We got rid of so much stuff. We don't have any of these things. Yeah. Project managers, yeah. Change approval boards, architecture governance board. We had an architecture governance board when I joined that was made all the decisions, and it was awful, and nobody could get anything done because it was slow, and went away. Anyone know what mode 1, mode 2 is? It's a Gartner thing. Absolute bloody nonsense. Doesn't make any sense at all. We run everything in super fast mode, and we're much more efficient, we're much more effective, and actually it's much more stable. Things support all that stuff. So I felt the need to we're in a tech thing, I felt the need to put one tech slide in there. As a lean, we do a lot of this stuff. This is probably the most interesting stat, 350 production releases every week. Our biggest was 680 something in 1 week, releases to production. We're super good at releasing to production. From an innovation perspective, it's great if you're a developer, if you can just release stuff. Just put it out the door. Doesn't matter. Put it out the door, test it, doesn't work, bring it back. Test it with 6 customers. Doesn't work, turn it off again. Getting really good. We used to do, when I first joined, we used to do 1 release every 6 weeks. And it was horrific. And we sucked at releasing because we did it every 6 weeks. Now we're really, really good at releasing because we do it so many times every day. And each team is massively optimized to do that. And of course, we've taken a lot of the waste out of that. To get that process to be that effective, to do that many releases, you can't have a really big process of going, oh, there's a board that makes a decision about this change or not. That doesn't work. We empower the team, we give the team the capability to own the release, we expect them to watch the dials on the dashboards, we give them the tools to be able to do that, and that's part of that culture of creativity, that culture of innovation. They can just try stuff, roll it back. From an organization perspective, we do this. We organize around business problems. If you want to create a culture of innovation, it's a good way to do it. And major architectural domains. Conway's law says that your software will always look like the organization that created it. Therefore, take advantage of that. If you want a particular architecture for your software, organize around that architecture. Works really well. And then people follow the work, not the other way around. So we tend to we reorg a bit. But it's quite interesting if you're ever sitting in a meeting and you can't quite figure out who's responsible for a thing, your structure is wrong. And so back to work on the org, not in the org. When you sit in a meeting and everyone's going, I'm not responsible, I don't know, 3 of us are, that's probably a sign that you should take a step back and go, right, what should the org shape look like? How should that work? And then we organize our teams according to these principles. So small, cross-functional, co-located, autonomous, and focused on measurable business outcomes. So small, we try and make our teams as small as we possibly can. So typically it'll be a squad. A squad is about 3 people. So we got 200 and we've got quite a lot of people in tech. More than 300 people in tech itself. Of those, the developers, and we'll have 3 developers in a squad, and they will focus on a particular problem. And then they will have designers and analysts and product owners and all of those sorts of things around them. It's the cross-functional piece. But we've done better, as time has gone on, we've done better and better at slicing up the world into smaller and smaller bits. I mentioned all the microservices. One of the great things about microservices architecture is not that it's scalable or anything like that, but it's you can deploy lots and lots of teams across it because they don't fall over each other all the time. And of course they can make their change and they can get it out the door. Co-located is really nice. If you can put your teams physically together, it makes a huge difference. Cross-functional team, if you've got your designers sitting over in the corner, it's a disaster. It's not going to work. Bring them all together, put them all in a room, get them to work on a problem together. Of course, we have nearshore development as well. Work really hard on those communication relationships, making it feel like they're as co-located as possible. Put a screen up so that they can see each other at all times, etc. Autonomous, so that they can take control of as much as possible. We have real success when our teams are autonomous. We have much less success when they're not. Every time there's a massive dependency between 2 teams, it tends to cause problems. You get around it, but teams are much more effective when everything they need to do is in their own control. And then lastly, measurable business outcomes. Just, if people know what they're trying to achieve and you've got an independent scorecard that says whether they're achieving it or not, it makes it much easier for people to say, okay, my job was to increase conversion, the number of people landing on the site versus the number of people buying something on the site. And I've increased it from here to here. I have succeeded. We spend a lot of time talking about business metrics and OKRs and how we're going to measure the outcome of particular projects. Next one is people. Not going to spend too much time on people because people is very contextual. Again, it's all about the people you've got and the people you want and how you're moving one to the other. What I'm going to say is it's almost all about the people. and only almost because of this. So creativity is a function of diversity. There was a great study done by NASA. There's this thing called the Apollo paradox, where they, back in the 70s, they took all the smartest people from 10 teams, or from 100 teams, and they put them in 10 smaller teams. And then they took all the smartest people from those 10 smaller teams and they put them in a single team, and it was completely dysfunctional. It was just all the same sorts of people who were super bright. They couldn't get anything done. Diversity is the only attribute that's super highly correlated with creativity. People who are more diverse are more creative. Teams that are more diverse are more creative. When we talk about diversity in technology, that's why. Because we will get more innovative solutions, we will get better solutions through diversity. We're all trying to increase diversity, number of nationalities, etc. The one thing you've got to balance is diversity versus complexity. So sometimes outside of the people, we've all seen Cambrian explosions of technology, for example. That's bad diversity, just because the complexity goes through the roof. Then you can't manage it. Lastly is culture. Culture is super important. Oops, that didn't work. And I think the thing that we're super intentional about our culture. We think about it, we talk about it a lot. What is the culture that we want? Who are the types of people that we want? Not the specifics, what sort of people do we want? How do we want them to think about the world? How do we want them to relate to one another? What is the impact of this decision on our culture? Is it going to affect the culture positively or negatively? Is it going to take us further from where we want to go? Or does this individual take us further from where we want to go, or more towards where we want to go? Culture is massive. We do a lot around culture. One of the best things is that we've got this thing called culture of craft. One of our most senior engineers is responsible for it, one of our most senior principals. And like literally 3-4 times a week, we're getting small groups of people in a room to watch a video or have a presentation on something or talk about something, just to keep that, again, that innovation going, keep that creativity, keep bringing in new ideas from outside. And it's totally worth having a super experienced developer who could be doing a lot of code writing, but actually bringing up the organization, focusing the organization on craft, and the craft of software development is hugely valuable to us. And so we care deeply about that stuff. That was a real whistle-stop tour of of the way we think about innovation. I'll leave you with this, which is the sort of summary of what I said, which is hire great people, facilitate great process, encourage the right culture, and set the right goals. It's kind of what we do, right? Tech leaders, that's kind of what we do. Most important bit is this, and get the hell out of the way. Yeah, work on the org, not in the org. Create an org that can execute, and then leave them to execute. We're all type A personalities. We all love to get involved in a problem. Throw a problem on the table and we'll chew on that bone for hours. One of the hardest things is to go, well, what do you think? Tell me, yeah. You guys figure it out, yeah. I could spend the next 15 minutes doing it, or you sort it out yourselves. If you do it for them, they'll come back to you every time. Yeah, one of the most common ways that executives fail is failing to get from the doing stuff for working in the org to working on the org. Every time there's a problem, they jump in and try and fix it. It's just never going to work. You're never going to scale. That's the end of my presentation. Anyone that hasn't got the app, it's very important that you do. That's my my motto is at the bottom, which is custodi distractione, which means keep chipping away. None of this stuff happens overnight. Yeah. We all want to get to this amazing nirvana, but it's a journey. And we will never get to the end of this journey. It's all about deciding where you want to go to, writing your tech strategy, putting the right words in it, and then constantly iterating towards that. And that's where we all get success. Keep chipping away. Thanks, gang.